I was sleeping. I dreamed that I was walking down a dark path and came across a grotesque man with long arms and large hands. His eyes were filled with black, and his mouth was agape, stretching all the way down to his stomach. I tried to run, but he grabbed me. He peeled my skin off like an orange and devoured me, ignoring my pitiable shrieks of pain and terror. That's when I heard it. I awoke suddenly to someone or something screaming from far off into the distance. It was nearly alien, like it was an unimaginable pain, but no doubt the direction it came from was behind my house. My wife heard it too and sprang up. "John, what is it?" she asked me. "It might be an injured animal. I'll go check," I assured her. We didn't bother calling the cops. No use anyways, since we lived in the middle of nowhere. Just ourselves, living in a small farmhouse, surrounded by vast fields and forests. The fastest a sheriff could make it would be about an hour or more. I told her to stay here and look after the kids. I ran to my safe box, fidgeting with the code. I still had trouble remembering the password, and it took me 5 tries to get it right. I finally opened it and retrieved 2 pistols, giving one to her as I put on my jacket. "Be safe, John," she said, carefully locking the door behind me. I walked outside. The moonlight illuminated the fields, giving me ample night vision. There was no noise except for the soft whistling of the wind. I turned on my flashlight, blanketing the forest in sharp white light. I began my descent into the woods. I was able to travel easily, even in the dark, since I've memorized nearly the entire area over the decades I've lived there. Still, it was difficult to know what exactly I was looking for. After 2 minutes of walking, I heard it again, that horrifying shriek. I ran to its direction, stepping over logs and fallen branches, only to stop after seeing something glistening on the bark. It was fresh blood. It dripped down the trees and slathered the ground with pools of red. I realized how stupid I was. I can't believe I made such an idiotic, simple mistake. It should never have happened, but somehow I misjudged the situation. I heard the scream again, this time recognizing it as a man's. "Help!" he yelled. I hurried and found him eventually. John, crawling away from the grave I dug for him. How fucking selfish. He looked just like me, of course, but bloodied, and his skin was dark with dried blood and dirt. His entire left side of his face was ripped out from the bites I made. Despite all that I had done to him, John survived and managed to dig himself out of the pit. I'd never had this happen before, but there was no time to think it over. He heard my footsteps and turned to face me, his smile of relief quickly disappearing into despair. He begged for his life. I said no. He then begged for his family instead. I told him they were mine now. He then cursed me, calling me a monster, telling me that someone would hunt me down, that someday there would be a just retribution. I'd be caught, strung up in wooden strings, and burned till I was nothing but ash. They always say something like that. I shot him in the head, and his body slumped into the leaves. I buried him again, covering the grave with leaves and sticks. Soon, the ground looked the same as the rest of the forest. As I returned home, I was greeted by my wife and kids. who cautiously unlocked the door for me. "What was it? What was the gunshot for?" they asked. "Just a dying fox," I replied.